In the world of naval warfare, next generation usually means faster, stealthier, and packed with enough missiles to level a city. We've seen stealth destroyers, literal combat ships, and drone carriers. So when the US Navy announced it had finalized a design for its most critical future amphibious warship, everyone expected something sci-fi. Instead, they revealed this, the LST-100. It looks like a car ferry you take on vacation. It has a top speed of 14 knots. That's slower than a container ship. It has almost no heavy weapons. And its design is basically a copy of a ship from 80 years ago. But here's the shocking part. Military analysts are calling this the most important ship the US Navy will build in the next decade. It is being hailed as the only solution to the anti-access problem in the Pacific. Why would the world's most powerful Navy bet its future on a slow, undergunned barge? To understand this ship, we have to understand the trauma that created it. During World War II, the landing ship tank was a workhorse of victory. Thousands of them carried tanks and troops directly onto the beaches of Normandy and the Pacific Islands. But they had a fatal flaw. To get onto a beach, a ship needs a flat bottom. A flat-bottomed ship pushes water instead of cutting through it, making it painfully slow. But worse was the unbeaching problem. To land, the ship rammed itself onto the sand. To leave, it had to reverse its engines. But propellers at the rear of a ship are in deep water. When you reverse, you don't just pull the ship back. You churn up sand and mud, sucking the ship down into a suction trap. To fix this, crews had to use a massive stern anchor, drop hundreds of yards offshore before they hit the beach. To leave, they would winch themselves off using cable. It was a slow, dangerous process. A sitting duck. For 50 years, the US Navy was terrified of this. They abandoned beaching entirely. They built massive over-the-horizon ships that launched hovercraft and helicopters from miles out at sea. This kept the billion-dollar ship safe, but it came with a massive price tag. A San Antonio-class transport ship cost $2 billion. An LCAC hovercraft is a maintenance nightmare. So why, in 2025, are we going back to the beach? Because the game has changed. The era of the invincible aircraft carrier and the giant amphibious assault ship is ending. The proliferation of anti-access and area denial weapons, hypersonic missiles, anti-ship ballistic missiles, and drone swarms means that large, high-value targets are now endangered species. Think about the math. If an enemy fires a $2 million missile to sink a $2 billion ship carrying 500 Marines, that is a catastrophic strategic loss to the U.S. The Navy cannot afford to risk its capital ships to deliver a few of Mars trucks to a remote island. This forced a radical change in doctrine. EABO, Expeditionary Advanced Base Operations. The new plan is distribution. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Break the force down into small, lethal teams armed with anti-ship missiles. Scatter them across thousands of islands in the first island chain. Shoot, move, and hide. To do this, you don't need a few giant ships. You need dozens of small, cheap trucks. You need a fleet of maritime pickup trucks that can go where the big ships can't. You need the LST-100. So, what makes a slow, ugly ship the perfect tool for this job? First, the price. The target cost for an LST-100 is between $150 and $180 million. That is peanuts in naval procurement. You can build 12 of these for the price of one San Antonio-class transport. This flips the economic script. If an enemy fires a hypersonic missile at an LST, they are trading a high-value weapon for a low-value target. It's an economic attrition war that the U.S. can win. Second, the double-ended trick. Remember the nightmare of reversing off a beach? The Dutch designers of the LST-100 solved it with a drive-through design. It has a clamshell door at the front and a ramp at the back. Vehicles drive on the rear, drive through the ship, and drive off the front. But the genius is in the hydrodynamics. The ship uses a modern hull form that is far more efficient than the World War II bathtubs, allowing it to act like a normal ship in deep water, but still beach itself safely. It solves the 80-year-old problem without complex, fragile technology. Third, access. Large amphibious ships draw 7 to 8 meters of water. In the Pacific, they can only dock at maybe 10% of ports. The LST-100, with its shallow draft and beaching capability, can access 80% of the coastlines in the region. This is a strategic game changer. The enemy cannot predict where you will land because you can land anywhere. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. 14 knots. It's slow, Painfully slow. Modern container ships do 25 knots. Why build a warship that can be outrun by a cruise ship? This is where the counterintuitive logic of modern warfare comes in. If you ask a naval strategist, they will tell you, if a satellite sees you, do you think a missile cares if you are doing 14 knots or 30 knots? Against a Mach 5 missile, 30 knots is standing still. Speed is no longer armor. The only defense is not being seen. This is where the LST-100 shines. It looks like a civilian ship. It has a small radar cross-section. Compared to a destroyer, it lacks the massive radar mass and antenna farms of a capital ship. On a busy shipping lane packed with thousands of merchant vessels, an LST-100 running quiet is incredibly hard to pick out. It hides in the noise of commercial traffic. It is a ghost ship not because of high-tech stealth coding, but because it looks boring. So how does this ship fight? It doesn't. Imagine a future conflict. The U.S. needs to block a critical strait. Instead of sending a carrier strike group, 3 LST-100 slip out of port. They look like coastal freighters on radar. They approach a remote, uninhabited island. They don't need a pier. They drive right onto beach. In minutes, they offload 4 unmanned anti-ship missile launchers, a radar truck, and a platoon of Marines. The ship backs off the beach and vanishes. The Marines set up, fire their missiles at an enemy fleet 100 miles away, and pack up. The LST returns, picks them up, and moves them to the next island before the enemy can target them. This is the ANT strategy. Relentless, distributed, low-cost logistics that enables a lethal, high-tech fight. The LST is the blood vessel of this system. However, we cannot ignore the dark side of the strategy. Critics, including many retired officers, are calling this the return of the meat grinder. The LST-100 has minimal self-defense, maybe a few machine guns, maybe a CRAM system if the budget allows. It is thin-skinned. In a saturation attack with cheap drones or loitering munitions, it is vulnerable. If an LST-100 is caught, it will die, and the sailors and Marines on board will die. The U.S. Navy knows this, but they have made a cold, hard calculation. In a peer conflict, losses are inevitable. Losing a $150 million ship is a tragedy, but it is not a strategic defeat. Losing a $13 billion aircraft carrier is a strategic defeat. By shifting the risk to smaller, cheaper platforms, the Navy is ensuring it can sustain the fight even after taking hits. This is the bloody math of 21st century warfare. The LST-100 is a paradox. It is the most advanced thinking in naval strategy, wrapped in a hull design from 1944. It is slow, cheap, and ugly, but it represents a Navy that is finally waking up to reality. We cannot win the next war by building fewer, more expensive ships. We have to build numbers. We have to be agile. We have to go back to the beach. The era of the invincible warship is over. The era of the expendable logistics node has begun. And in that new world, this slow-moving barge might just be the most dangerous ship on the ocean. What do you think? Is the LST-100 a brilliant strategic pivot or a death trap for sailors? Would you rather be in a fast hovercraft or a steel-hulled ship when the shooting starts? Let me know in the comments below.